Hey film fans!
It's all right, little one.
Welcome to CinePro, your ultimate hub for all movie recaps, from heartwarming classics to the latest blockbusters. The movie begins in the magical Kingdom of Oz. Inside a certain room flooded with water, it becomes apparent that a fire had occurred in this room, and we see a blackened hat on the ground. A voice announces the death of the wicked witch named Elphaba. A group of flying monkeys appears in the sky, and we learn that the Kingdom of Oz is inhabited by both humans and animals, who coexist and communicate with each other. We see one of the cities in the Kingdom of Oz where people and animals live together, speaking and interacting harmoniously. The children in the city are overjoyed, running around in sheer happiness because they know that Elphaba, the wicked witch, is finally dead. The news spreads throughout the city, and the townspeople sing and dance in celebration. Elphaba was known for her extreme wickedness, and all the inhabitants of the Kingdom of Oz feared and despised her. Suddenly, a shining star appears in the sky, approaching them. The star transforms into a magical bubble containing a kind witch named Glinda. Glinda is beloved by all the townspeople, and she joins in their celebration, announcing that evil has finally been vanquished from the Kingdom of Oz. A little girl asks Glinda how Elphaba became wicked, prompting Glinda to tell her Elphaba's story. The narrative shifts to the past, where we see the city's ruler bidding farewell to his wife as he departs for a meeting outside the city. After he leaves, his wife welcomes her lover, with whom she is having an affair. The lover gives her a green-colored potion to drink so they can enjoy their time together. Sometime later, the ruler's wife becomes pregnant and suffers greatly during childbirth. She gives birth to a daughter who is named Elphaba. However, everyone is shocked to discover that Elphaba's skin is green, and they are frightened by her appearance, likening her to a frog. When Elphaba cries, she moves objects in the room in a terrifying manner, increasing everyone's fear of her. The ruler becomes angry and orders a bear named Dulcie to take the child away from him. From that day on, Dulcie raises Elphaba. Later, Elphaba's mother gives birth to another daughter named Nessarose, who is a normal child but is unable to walk. Elphaba loves her younger sister deeply, spending a lot of time with her and telling her stories about the magic of Oz and the ruler of the kingdom, who resides in the Emerald City. While Elphaba is talking to Nessarose, a group of children arrives and mocks Elphaba for her green skin, calling her a frog and comparing her to leaves. Nessarose becomes frightened and starts crying. Angered, Elphaba yells at the children, unleashing her powers and moving rocks toward them. The children run away in fear. Their father arrives, sees Nessarose crying, and assumes Elphaba upset her. He scolds Elphaba and takes Nessarose away, leaving Elphaba heartbroken because her father does not love her. Dulcie tries to comfort her. In the present, Glinda tells the townspeople that Elphaba was wronged as a child, and that her wickedness may have been born out of anger toward the harsh circumstances she endured. The townspeople create a straw effigy of Elphaba, which Glinda sets on fire with a torch, continuing the celebration. Before Glinda departs, a girl asks if Glinda and Elphaba were once friends. As people have heard, Glinda becomes flustered but regains her composure, replying that they were indeed friends until Glinda discovered Elphaba's wickedness and distanced herself. The story then flashes back to the past, to Elphaba's first day at the School of Magic. Glinda arrives with her bags and belongings, revealing that she comes from a wealthy family and aspires to become the greatest witch in the kingdom. Glinda is the most stylish and beautiful girl at the school, attracting the admiration of all the boys. A boy named Bok tries to get to know her, but Glinda ignores him and walks away. Shortly after, Elphaba arrives, and her appearance shocks everyone at the school, even frightening Glinda. When Elphaba asks why Glinda is afraid of her, Glinda admits she is surprised by Elphaba's green skin. Elphaba confidently addresses the students, telling them there is no need to mock or ridicule her. She explains that she is not ill and did not eat leaves or plants. She was simply born with green skin. Glinda approaches her and announces that she will help Elphaba learn magic and assist her in changing her skin color so she can lead a normal life. It becomes clear that Glinda is doing this to draw attention to herself and earn praise for her kindness. The students applaud Glinda for her good heart, but Elphaba sees through her intentions and warns her not to make promises she cannot keep, as Glinda knows little about magic. At that moment, Elphaba's father arrives, upset that Elphaba has drawn attention to herself. We learn that he has come to enroll Nessarose in the School of Magic and gives her their mother's diamond-encrusted shoes. Nessarose is delighted, and her father tells her he wants her to look beautiful in front of her classmates. Elphaba watches this interaction with sadness, wishing her father would treat her with the same love. However, she knows this will never happen. Hiding her sorrow, she speaks lovingly to Nessarose, expressing her happiness for her. Nessarose thanks her and says she will miss her, but Elphaba reassures her that the feeling will pass as she makes new friends and enjoys her life at the school. Nessarose joins the other students, excited and eager to meet her new classmates. The father asks Elphaba to follow Nessarose and stay with her until she settles into her room, ensuring she needs nothing. Despite knowing she will be embarrassed, Elphaba complies with her father's order. She follows Nessarose to the school, where the headmaster welcomes the new students and introduces them to the faculty, including an elder named Dillamond, an expert in history. The school's headmistress, Morrible, is a powerful and respected witch in the kingdom. The students are in awe of her, especially Glinda. Morrible addresses the students, welcoming them warmly. Meanwhile, Elphaba stands quietly, feeling sorrowful, because she wished to be one of the students around her and study like them. After Mori finishes her speech, she approaches Glinda and tries to get closer to her to make her teach her magic and benefit from her experience. However, Mori tells her that she only does that with students who have special magical abilities, and since she doesn't possess those abilities, she will treat her like any other ordinary student in the school. Afterwards, she leaves her, which disappoints Glinda. Glinda then joins the other students to find out where her room is. At the same time, one of the teachers, named Kodal, goes to Nessa, Elphaba's sister, and it becomes clear that Kodal knows Nessa is the daughter of the city's governor. Because of this, Kodal tells her that she will take care of her and show her to her room. But as soon as Kodal sees Elphaba, she is startled and asks who she is. Elphaba tells her that she is Nessa's sister, so Kodal says she'll find her a good room but away from the other students. However, Elphaba insists that she won't join the school and is only there to check on her sister before leaving. This reassures Kodal, who then takes Nessa to her room. But Elphaba tries to stop her because she promised her father she would look after her sister. Kodal ignores her and walks away. This angers Elphaba, and a tremendous magical power bursts out of her, lifting everything into the air, including her sister. Elphaba manages to pull her sister towards her and away from Kodal. Everything then returns to normal. Nessa feels embarrassed by Elphaba's actions, especially since all the students are scared and terrified by the chaos and destruction that occurred. Nessa fears this will affect her relationship with the students. Elphaba tries to apologize and explain that it was beyond her control, but Nessa refuses to listen and walks away. At this moment, Mori, who witnessed what happened, realizes that Elphaba has great magical power. She stands before all the students and lies to them, claiming she was responsible for what happened to prepare them for the strange things they might see during their magical training. Mori approaches Elphaba, welcomes her to the school, and asks the students who will host Elphaba in their room. Glinda volunteers and says she will do it. Mori thanks her, calls Elphaba, and they leave together. At that moment, Glinda feels jealous of Elphaba, especially when she hears Mori say she will personally teach her magic lessons privately, away from the other students. Glinda's jealousy grows so intense that she goes into shock, and her friends carry her to the clinic to check on her. Meanwhile, Elphaba thanks Mori for improving her image in front of the students, but tells her that her father won't agree to her joining the school. Mori assures her that she will speak to her father and convince him. She asks Elphaba when she discovered her power. Elphaba explains that it's not a talent, but a strange force that takes over when she's angry, causing her many problems in life. Mori tells her that she's been searching for years for someone with similar abilities, and explains that if Elphaba learns to control this power, she could become a great sorceress. Mori promises to train her to control and use her power. She also says she will talk to the Wizard Oz about her, arrange a meeting at his palace, and nominate her to become the Minister of Magic in the Kingdom of Oz. Elphaba is overjoyed, feeling that she will finally overcome people's mockery and gain respect and recognition. Her sister Nessa and her father will also be proud of her. Elphaba then goes to her room, but is surprised to find that Glinda has taken over the entire space, claiming she has a lot of belongings and sacrificed her comfort to share the room with her as friends. She shows Elphaba a small, cramped spot in the room, saying she left it for her to sleep in. Glinda asks Elphaba to speak well of her to Mori. Elphaba realizes Glinda is selfish and only cares about her own interests, so she ignores her and doesn't respond. Glinda then accuses Elphaba of being the one who moved things in the students' courtyard and asks how she did it. Elphaba denies it, but Glinda keeps pressing until Elphaba gets angry, releasing her energy and shattering glass. Glinda is shocked and becomes too scared to talk to Elphaba, fearing she might harm her. At night, Glinda writes a letter to her family, and Elphaba writes a letter to her father, thanking him for allowing her to study at the school and promising to take care of Nessa. The next day, Elphaba starts attending classes with her schoolmates. Dilly enters and introduces himself to the students in the class, but he mispronounces Glinda's name, prompting Elphaba to mock her. Dilly asks them to stop, then begins telling them about the history of animals in the Kingdom of Oz, explaining that animals used to teach humans. He says the situation has changed because humans now treat animals poorly, blaming them for past famines and droughts in the kingdom. Glinda interrupts and suggests focusing on the future instead of the past. Dilly explains that studying the past is necessary to understand the present and prepare for the future. As he goes to display a timeline showing the connection between the past and present, he finds a sentence written instead. The sentence reads, "Humans should not listen to animals, and animals belong in cages, not schools." Dilly becomes upset and asks the students who wrote it, but no one responds, which angers him further. He slams the table, causing a vase of flowers to fall and break. He cancels the lesson and asks the students to leave. Elphaba feels sympathy for Dilly, approaches him to comfort him, and gathers the fallen flowers. Dilly thanks her and tells her that poppies are his favorite flower. She tells him they are her favorite too. Dilly asks her to leave and join her friends, but she reveals she has no friends. Dilly tells her that from that moment, he will be her friend. Later, Elphaba goes to Mori for training to control her power. Mori asks her to focus her energy on a coin and try to move it. Elphaba tries repeatedly but fails. Using her wit, Mori provokes her by mentioning what happened with Dilly to anger her. Elphaba, now upset, begins talking about how Dilly doesn't deserve to be underestimated or insulted. She wishes she could hold the person responsible accountable. Disturbing her at that time escalates Elphaba's anger quickly, releasing energy from within her, causing the coin to move and shatter the glass in front of them. Mori is shocked by what happened and tells Elphaba that once she learns to control her emotions, she will be able to control her powers. At night, Elphaba is leaving school and sees Dilly returning home. She follows him to ask if he found the person who wrote the letter. She keeps walking behind him until she reaches his house, where she sees him talking to a group of animals. Dilly is telling them about the letter he saw during recess. It becomes clear that the animals are upset, as many of them are being wronged. Humans force them to leave their jobs against their will, and anyone who objects is imprisoned. At that moment, Elphaba has a vision of Dilly locked in a cage, making her anxious. She moves involuntarily, and the animals notice her presence, leaving the place. Dilly approaches Elphaba and asks her to come inside. Once inside, Elphaba tells him she overheard his conversation with the animals and suggests they go to the Wizard Oz to inform him of what's happening. Dilly refuses the idea, asking her to keep what she learned to herself. He advises her to leave before anyone sees her with him. Elphaba listens to him and leaves. While on her way, she's accidentally knocked down by a young man riding a horse. The young man gets off his horse to apologize. Upon seeing her, he isn't surprised by her skin color. He introduces himself as Vero, a prince from a nearby city, and tells her he's come to study at the arena school. He offers to escort her, but Elphaba ignores him and walks away. Vero is surprised, as it's the first time a girl has rejected him. The next day, it's announced that Prince Vero has joined the school. Upon hearing this, Galinda puts on her most beautiful dress to catch his attention. When Vero arrives at the school, he completely ignores the students, who are all impressed by him and eager to befriend him. It turns out he's arrogant and doesn't talk to anyone. Galinda approaches him and asks if he's looking for something. When Vero looks at her, he's struck by her beauty and starts talking to her. He tells her he's been rejected by many schools before. Galinda then gives him a tour of the school, eventually taking him to the library. In the library, Vero spots Elphaba and waves to her, but she ignores him. Vero starts dancing and singing in the library, encouraging the students not to study. He announces he's throwing a dance party that night and insists everyone should attend. The students love the idea and decide to go. Buck seizes the opportunity and asks Galinda to be his date for the party, but she refuses and points him toward Nessa, suggesting she would be happy if he invited her. Galinda explains that she loves helping others and making people around her happy. However, her real motive is to get Buck away from her at any cost. Buck listens to her and invites Nessa to the party, telling her it was Galinda's idea. Nessa is thrilled and tells Elphaba that Galinda is very kind and got Buck to invite her to the party. Elphaba is annoyed because her sister doesn't see Galinda's true nature and thinks she's a good person. Nessa asks Elphaba not to say anything bad about Galinda. At night, Galinda is in her room getting ready for the party with her friends, who are helping her dress up. She looks stunning and captivating, but her friends find an old black hat in her closet. Galinda explains that she inherited the hat from her grandmother, and that her family insisted she bring it because they consider it a family heirloom. She mentions that she wants to give the hat to someone she dislikes. Her friends suggest giving it to Elphaba. When Elphaba arrives, Galinda convinces her to join the party and gives her the hat, telling her it would look great on her, and advising her to wear it with a black dress. Being kind-hearted, Elphaba believes Galinda and agrees to attend the party. Before going, she visits Mori and makes a special request. At the party, everyone is dancing and singing. Buck sees Galinda dancing with Vero and realizes she never cared about him and deliberately pushed him away. He decides to dance with Nessa instead. After a while, Mori arrives and gives Galinda a magic wand, telling her she will attend magic lessons with Elphaba. Galinda is thrilled and thanks Mori for trusting her abilities. However, Mori shocks her by saying she doesn't trust her at all and only agreed because Elphaba requested it and threatened not to attend the lessons otherwise. Mori, not wanting to lose Elphaba, agreed to her request. Galinda is surprised by Elphaba's actions. At that moment, Elphaba arrives at the party, wearing Galinda's strange hat with a black dress. When the students see her, they laugh and mock her. But Elphaba doesn't care and dances awkwardly, as she has never danced before. Nessa feels embarrassed by her sister's behavior. Meanwhile, Vero tells Galinda that Elphaba doesn't care about the students' mockery, but Galinda feels guilty and sympathizes with Elphaba. She tells Vero that Elphaba is affected by the students' behavior, but tries not to show it. Galinda decides to dance with Elphaba and mimic her moves. Since Galinda is popular among the students, they all join her and Elphaba. Elphaba feels overwhelmed and starts crying, but Galinda wipes her tears and hugs her. After returning to their room, Elphaba and Galinda grow closer and decide to become friends. Galinda shares a secret with Elphaba, revealing she loves Vero and wants to marry him. She then asks Elphaba to share one of her secrets. Without waiting for her to respond, Galinda asks about the green bottle Elphaba always keeps under her pillow. Elphaba explains that the bottle belonged to her mother and shares her story. She reveals that her father hates her because she was born with green skin. When her mother was pregnant with Nessa, her father was afraid she would also be born green. To prevent this, he fed her a flower called the milk flower, which caused Nessa to be born prematurely, resulting in problems with her legs. Her mother died shortly after giving birth. Elphaba says she feels guilty because her sister was born that way and her mother died because of her. Galinda comforts her, assuring her it wasn't her fault, and she tells her that she will help her change for the better. She keeps teaching her certain moves to do with her hair to attract attention. She places a flower in her hair and tells her she looks beautiful. At that moment, Elpha feels very happy because this is the first time in her life someone tells her she looks nice. In the history class, Dilly enters the students, and Elpha brings him a bouquet of poppies he loves, but he doesn't take it from her. He tells the students that he has decided to resign from his job because humans no longer allow animals to teach in schools. Suddenly, several guards enter and arrest him in front of the students. When Elpha tries to intervene, Cadol stops her and tells her it's a decision from the school administration. She then introduces the new history teacher, a human like them, and he tells them that just as they will study the past, they will also study the future. He brings with him a small cub locked in a cage, trying to convince the students that the cub is happy and that the destiny of all animals in the kingdom of Ozu is to be locked in cages. Elpha angrily responds, telling him he is wrong, that the cub is trembling with fear. She addresses her classmates, telling them they shouldn't remain silent about what's happening. However, none of them pay attention to her words. Elpha becomes frustrated, releasing a surge of anger that makes the flowers fly into the air. At that moment, scents emanate from the flowers, causing all the students to fall asleep except for Elpha and Vero, who takes the cub from the cage and decides, along with Elpha, to return it to the forest. After they leave, Mori enters and sees the students sleeping, realizing that Elpha was responsible. She understands that Elpha's abilities are evolving day by day and decides to send a message to the Wizard Oz. Meanwhile, Elpha and Vero reach the forest and free the cub. When they return to the school, Glinda runs to Vero, but it's apparent that Vero is preoccupied with Elpha because he has feelings for her. The next day, a special letter arrives from the Wizard Oz, addressed specifically to Elpha. It's an invitation for her to visit the Emerald City and meet him in his palace. Elpha is overjoyed, feeling that her dream has finally come true. Mori encourages her, urging her to prove herself to Oz, so he can grant her what she desires. However, Elpha lacks confidence in herself, feeling she hasn't yet mastered her abilities. Mori reassures her, telling her she will surely succeed. After some time, a special train arrives to take Elpha to the Emerald City. Before she leaves, Glinda runs to bid her farewell, telling her she doesn't know how she'll stay at the school without her, especially since Vero has been acting differently with her since the previous day. At that moment, Vero comes to bid farewell to Elpha, visibly saddened. Although Glinda is standing with them, Vero completely ignores her, focusing solely on Elpha. Glinda finds this strange, suspecting there's something between Vero and Elpha, but she remains silent. Elpha boards the train, ready for her journey. All her classmates bid her farewell, wishing her good luck. Elpha feels very happy, realizing that finally there are people in her life who care about her. As the train moves, Glinda runs to Elpha and gives her a book containing information about the Emerald City. When Elpha opens the book, she finds a message from Glinda, wishing her success in achieving her dreams. Elpha is touched and calls out to Glinda, asking her to join her. Glinda runs and boards the train at the last moment, and the two travel together to the Emerald City. When they arrive, they are amazed by the city's beauty, which is entirely green. The city's people are joyful, celebrating Elpha's arrival and welcoming her like royalty. When they reach Oz's palace, they present the invitation to the guards, who allow them entry. They are met by Chissy, the head guard, who escorts them to the Wizard Oz. However, Elpha and Glinda are startled when they see the Wizard Oz, a massive metal monster. He speaks to them in a terrifying, intimidating voice, asking who they are and the reason for their visit. Elpha responds nervously, introducing herself. Suddenly, Oz appears from behind the monster, apologizing to Elpha, explaining that he didn't mean to frighten her, but he uses the terrifying monster to assess people before meeting them. He tells them he is very happy to finally meet her. He then shows them a model of the future city of Oz, and gives Elpha a small statue specially made in her likeness, telling her that one day she will become the most powerful sorceress on Earth. Elpha holds the statue, feeling upset because it's green. Oz understands that she wants him to change her to her natural color, but she tells him that's not what she wants. She reveals that her greatest wish is to help the animals in the kingdom. At that moment, Mori arrives at the palace. Elpha is thrilled to see her, running to embrace her. Mori tells Elpha she came to witness her achieving her dream. Then we see Chissy uncovering an old book belonging to the wizard. At that moment, Mori tells Elpha that the book contains powerful spells that not just anyone can recite. As Elpha approaches the book, everyone is shocked when it opens easily for her. Oz explains that casting an important spell is challenging and mentions Chissy's interest in birds. As soon as Elpha utters the word birds, a page in the book reveals a spell with unclear words. It becomes evident that Oz wants Elpha to recite this particular spell. Elpha approaches the book, the spell's words appearing before her, and she begins to recite them. Oz and Mori are amazed at what's happening, while Chissy seems distressed and anxious. Suddenly, he starts screaming in pain, revealing that he is transforming into a bird, growing wings. Elpha feels deeply sorry for him, wanting to reverse the spell to relieve his pain and return him to his natural state. But Mori explains that the spell cannot be undone. They all go out to the palace courtyard, and Elpha is shocked to see all the monkeys in the area turning into birds. Here, Oz's true intentions become clear. He wants to transform the monkeys into flying spies to soar over the kingdom's cities, reporting the locations of animals so they can be captured and imprisoned. Elpha is horrified by his words, unable to comprehend that he is behind all of this. She's even more shocked to learn that Mori is complicit in his crimes, spreading false information about animals to mislead the kingdom's residents and convince them that animals are their enemies. At that moment, Elpha realizes that both of them exploited her magical talent to assist them in their evil plans. She discovers that Oz is not a great wizard at all, and that you become more certain and go to get the magic book, asking Oz to recite the spell inside it. However, Oz is unable to do so, and Elphaba tells him that he is an ordinary human without any magical abilities. Otherwise, he would not need her help. He then tells her that if she listens to him, he will make her the most powerful witch who could rule the entire kingdom after him. But Elphaba refuses to harm the animals, takes the magic book, and runs away from them, hoping to find a solution to save the animals from their evil. At that moment, Mori asks Glinda to go after Elphaba and convince her to return and join them again. Meanwhile, Mori orders the flying monkeys to chase Elphaba and bring her back. It is revealed that Mori threatens the monkeys by saying she will kill their families, which is why they obey her and quickly pursue Elphaba. At the same time, Oz also summons human guards and orders them to chase and capture Elphaba before she escapes. Elphaba is running inside the palace, looking for any exit to escape. Suddenly, she finds the monkeys attacking her from all directions, trying to catch her, but she does not resist them. At that moment, Glinda arrives and asks Elphaba to return with her to Oz. However, Elphaba refuses to listen to her and declines to go back. Glinda follows her to talk to her again, but is surprised to find that the monkeys and guards are also chasing her like Elphaba. Elphaba takes Elphaba to the red balloon that Oz uses to oversee the kingdom, and they board it to escape the guards. However, the guards block the opening through which the balloon exits. The balloon explodes and catches fire with Elphaba and Glinda inside, starting to collapse. But they move quickly, manage to jump out, and the balloon crashes onto the guards, killing many of them. Afterward, Elphaba and Glinda enter a room in the palace and lock themselves inside. They then hear Mori announcing to all the kingdom's inhabitants that there is an enemy among them, identifying the enemy as Elphaba. She tells them that she was deceived by Elphaba, thinking she was kind. Mori claims that Elphaba wants to harm humans and animals, and that she is the one who turned the monkeys into flying monsters like birds. This deeply affects Elphaba, making her sad. She realizes that no one will help her, and decides to open the magic book to recite the spell, fly into the sky, and save herself. However, She keeps reciting the spell, but nothing happens. Glinda talks to her, saying this is her chance and that she should listen to Oz if she wants to achieve her dream of becoming a famous and beloved witch. But Elphaba tells her she does not want to hide or gain fame at the expense of the animal's pain, nor does she want to deceive people like Oz. Suddenly, the broom moves from its place and approaches Elphaba, revealing that the broom is enchanted by the spell Elphaba recited. Elphaba grabs the broom and offers Glinda to join her, saying that together, they can free the kingdom from the evil of Oz and Mori. Glinda agrees, but notices that Elphaba is shivering, so she fetches a black cloak and wraps it around her to keep her warm. Suddenly, the guards break into the room. Elphaba tries to resist them, but they capture Glinda. Elphaba quickly acts to distract them by breaking the glass in the room and flying into the sky on the broom. However, she initially struggles to fly and falls. Suddenly, she sees herself as a child reaching out her hand to help her. Elphaba gathers her strength and manages to fly on the broom. The winged monkeys chase after her, but she escapes from them. At that moment, the school students see a green light in the sky and become frightened, running to protect themselves from Elphaba's supposed evil. However, Fiyero does not believe that Elphaba could be evil. Meanwhile, Nessa is at home, saddened by Mori's words about Elphaba, and her father collapses to the ground in shock. Back at Oz's palace, Mori approaches Glinda to persuade her to join her side. Strangely, Glinda betrays Elphaba and hugs Mori. At that moment, Oz arrives, shocked by what is happening. At the same moment, Elphaba appears before them and declares that no sorcerer in the kingdom can stop her from taking revenge on them. She uses her powers to destroy the palace entirely, plunging the Emerald City into complete darkness. Afterward, she flies into the sky, deeply saddened by what has happened. The movie ends here. Don't forget to follow our channel. See you in the next recap.